Hello there. Hi, everyone who's watching. Thank you. Uh, if you have nothing better to do, just stay here because we will have an interesting episode now. By the way, welcome to our fifth episode of Deb's Wall. Today we have a really special guest. I'm going to read his summarized CV because there's so much to read here. He is a Microsoft MVP in Developer Technologies category, programmer by conviction and passion. He has more than 20 years programming in Microsoft Web Technologies, community leader for LatinoNet Online, a community of .NET developers from all over Latin America, and ASP.NET Spanish on Facebook, early adopter of technological products. Insider of everything related to Microsoft products, Windows, Visual Studio Code, Office, Xbox, Edge, Chromium, etc., all in insider versions. So I want to welcome Jorge Levy. How's it going?
Hey Hector, how you doing?
Doing great. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. The moment that I hear that you are doing this exercise, I was in to be with you on this kind of talks.
Oh, perfect. I hope this is just the first one. I hope we can have many more.
Yeah, for sure.
With your given background, we can have so much to talk.
Oh, thank you for that. Also, I hear a lot of good things about you. So there is a couple of good engineers here.
Thank you. Hope so. Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a question I ask everybody. How did you get involved into software engineering? Because you have more than 20 years of experience. So if you go, let's go back 20 or more years back. How did you start here?
First thing is that I'm not older, but grew up guy. I have 44 years, so I've been working in the technologies for a long time. So, but everything started when I was a child. I had the opportunity, and I was very okay. Sometimes I forgot the word, so I will try to do it.
Don't worry.
When I was child, I had the opportunity to have a computer, so I started. Actually, it wasn't a computer; it was a device that is called Commodore 64. I don't know if you remember those.
One, but it's really famous.
Yeah, it was only the keyboard and everything. It was built in the keyboard, and you connected to the TV, just like that. Yeah. And I started doing some minor programs at that time. I remember my first program, it was something that calculated your age when it was going to be the 2000 year.
Okay.
Yeah, so you 2000 or 200, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. You write your date of birth. On that program, and it was saying how old you was going to be on that moment. So, and it was great for me because at that time, I just put it my date of birth, and I said like, "Whoa, that is gonna be old for me." And we are here 21 years after.
2021.
Yeah,
and already surviving a pandemic.
Exactly. So. But yes, I started since then. It was, I think it was QBasic at that moment with the Commodore 64. I don't remember exactly, but I started from there. And as mentioned, I had the opportunity to be on the technology since that time. And when I went to the university, it was clear for me that I should be on the technology side.
So you actually studied computer engineering or systems engineering or something like that?
I started electric.
Electric, okay.
Yeah, but in some point I was having programming subjects and electronic subjects, and I realized that I should be more on the software side instead of the hardware.
Excellent. When I was younger, I also wanted to. Before studying, I also wanted to something related to like electronics, mechatronics. But at the end, I also studied more related to systems engineering, and now
Exactly.
the market takes us where we are. I guess I think there is so much demand right now. Seems like a bubble or something. I don't know,
Definitely, definitely,
but
yeah.
as of now, there's a lot of demand for software developers. Thankfully, so we need to take advantage for it, I guess. So
Definitely, yeah. We're in a good position.
mhm.
Even with this pandemic, we are in a good place to at least has continue
Yeah,
having work
actually, the
because
pandemic made it grow, I guess.
exactly,
If you see it in the bright side of it, if it has some bright side, the pandemic at least for us people involved in software, there's more work to do.
yeah.
So
So I finished
yeah, go ahead.
the system engineering, and then I started. Even when I was on the career or studying, I was already working. So I started to work with. At that point, I started with Visual Basic. That marked my professional life forever. So I started with Microsoft technologies, and I stay with that part with the Microsoft technologies. So that's why, and we will see, and you can see that all my experience has been with .NET and that kind of things.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I already read your
Exactly.
like 3-4 liner or quick CV, and
Correct.
everything related to .NET technologies and Microsoft. So I know that you're working as of now, moving along. You're working in the U.S., right?
Correct.
Or
I have migrated to United States 7 years ago.
oh, seven
Uh,
years ago.
Yeah, 7 years
Nice.
ago. It's been a while, a little bit. Actually, my youngest daughter is she has 7 years old. So she is 7 years old. So her entire life has been here in the
So
United States.
she's American.
No, she
No,
born in
no, she
Mexico,
was born
and
in Mexico, and you brought it.
exactly, I brought her
Oh,
here
nice.
at the age of 4 months.
Oh my.
Exactly.
And how it is? You said you have 7 years. How is it being in Mexico? You work in Mexico for several years, I guess.
Definitely.
Then you move on to you're in California, right?
Correct. I'm in
Okay,
California. I'm close to San Francisco. I'm living in Sacramento area. You know that Sacramento is the
the
capital
capital. Yeah,
of California. I didn't know when I came.
I did know, but it's common
Think that
to
LA or
think
maybe San
of
Francisco.
LA or because there are like big cities in California, LA,
Exactly.
San Francisco, even San Diego or any other.
Exactly.
But Sacramento,
Yeah,
it's the
Sacramento is
capital.
exactly. It's a small city. It's not that big than the three that you mentioned. It's still a city, but it's a small one. Yes, when I met my wife, we met in doing our internship in New York. It was
All
a
right.
6 month internship for our university, and we met there. Since that time, we were thinking that we could move to another country. We were pointing to go to Canada, and I even started to learn French, but for some
All right.
reasons I couldn't continue with that. But we always keep the mind to we should migrate it in some point of our life.
How it is? I mean, you're there for 7 years, so all you're used to
Correct.
being there. But how is the from the process to move to living there to adapting? How has all been for you?
Yeah. Um, First thing is that, as mentioned, the software engineering area is being increasing with time. So there is a lot of opportunities here in the United States. A lot. So many. That means that they need people to migrate from other countries to here to United States because they don't have good enough amount of engineers here in America. I will say America because it's the way that they say, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't
We,
don't
I think
don't
we
be hard
know.
on me on that.
We know America means United States in this context.
Exactly in the context, but don't be hard on me. I know America is every
All the
single
continents.
country in the continent, but this is the way they say, so I will be learning about it. How on use it. So there is a lot of opportunities, and the way to come here is that some company need to sponsorship you.
Okay.
So they give you a job offer, and then you need to get a visa in order to work here legally. So, but the good thing with with the Mexicans and also Canadian people is that we can access to a very simple visa that is called TN, and
Right.
different than other kind of visas, we can get this visa from 1 week to the other one. So it's very quick to get that kind of visa. And for the companies, it's so simple for them that they just need to send you the job offer letter, and that job offer letter, it will give you the opportunity to get the visa. That's
Perfect.
all. That there's no much legal stuff involved with this kind of visa.
And
So
does it like it has like expiry days? Is it like
ex-
yearly or is it
it's only for 1 year, so you need to
okay?
renew every single year. It's only sometimes when you arrive to the line to by plane, or when you are with the immigrant agent, they can give you 3 years, but the stamp or the visa is only for 1 year. So after your visa is expired, you can stay a couple of years more, but you cannot go out. Actually, you can go out. What you cannot do is to return back
No,
to
you
the
cannot return.
exactly.
So you need to make sure you renew it before you
Yeah,
go or
but let's
something
not
like that.
focus on that part. Let's keep it simple. TN visa is only for 1 year, and you need to renew every single year. But again, it's a simple visa. It's very easy for the companies and for you to get that visa.
And what are the limitations? Are there any restrictions for with that kind of visa?
Yeah, you need to show to the consul
Uh-huh.
that you are good enough for the company, and that means that you
Okay.
need to have a degree or
Okay.
experience with doing what you have been doing. Let's say 4 years of working with as a software developer, for example. And
All right.
you need to prove that with letters from your previous works and that kind of things.
But for example, if you go with certain company and then you want to work with another company,
You need to get a new visa.
I think you need to
That's
get
exactly
okay.
that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind, because that
Mhm.
visa is attached only to one employee.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly.
And what about? I mean, there are a lot of companies or that say that they can help you to process once you're there.
Exactly.
This famous green card.
Exactly.
What does that
Before that,
mean?
there is another kind of visa like H1 or L that
Okay.
gives you more time. Let's say this is grant for 3 years, and for example, with TN, you cannot apply for the green card, and we will go for that part. But you cannot apply for a green card because the green card, it takes more than 2 years to all the entire process. So if you are in the middle of that process and you lost your TN, they are not gonna renew your TN visa,
Uh-huh.
because they say that the visas are for non-migration process or for migration process. So, for example, TN is not for a migration process; it's only for temporary projects.
Okay.
So with the
Temporary.
H1 or the L, or with the L visa, it is different, because those allows the people to start the process with the green card. So
Nice,
just keep
nice.
in mind that you will need if you are thinking on staying in the United States, you need to start thinking that in some moment you will need another kind of visa.
So normally the process will be like TN visa, then H1 visa.
For us as a Mexicans, yes.
And
for
then
the
green
rest
card.
of the world, they should start with the H visa. And the problem with the H visa is that they just give 100,000 of visa every year, and it's only during April. So it's a yearly process, and sometimes if you get the offer, if somebody is giving you an offer, they wanted you the next week or the next 15 years, 50 days or something like that. But the rest of the people trying to get the H visa is a long process, so they lose the opportunity. So we as a Mexicans, we have a very good opportunity to migrate to the United States and start that process because we have the TN visa. That is important to mention. That's why I'm putting a lot of attention to that part.
Nice.
Did I explain myself?
Yeah, I think at least I'm clear. I hope everyone who watches this is clear. If not, just contact Jorge. He will answer all of your migration and visa questions.
I'm not a migration consultant, but I'm willing to help a little bit. I need to be clear about it. So, and after that, you apply for the green card. The green card is it grants you rights to stay in the United States as a citizenship, but without voting. You cannot vote. What kind of you need to renew your green card? They call it that you are a resident. You live in the United States, but you don't have all the rights.
Okay.
After 5 years, you can apply for the citizenship.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then that you get all the rights to vote.
All right. Kind of so, Justin, for your case, if you want to share, how much time did it take you for?
I'm still on H1 visa.
Oh, you're still on H1?
I'm starting the process on getting the green card. Because again, for the TN, I got it that visa without my degree diploma.
Okay.
What we call the
title, el título, cédula.
The cédula, exactly. Yeah. That was the word I was looking, and it's in Spanish, but the title. So I couldn't apply for the H1 because they require your cédula, your title, your degree title, to get the visa. So it was 3 years just trying to get my cédula. And when the moment I was able to get it, then I started the process to get the H1 visa. And again, this is a yearly process, and I needed to wait. And it is a lottery. There are like I'm so bad with numbers, 3,100 people looking for the H visa, and they just grant 100 visas every year.
Oh, so the chances are not so high.
Exactly.
Okay. You just need to keep applying.
And it's literally a lottery. So they send you your papers, and then they put all the papers, and they just choose the ones that are lucky to get the. For sure, if you have PhD, you will be in a special bowl for the lottery. That they will start with all the PhD people.
Yeah,
then it goes the master people, and then the degree. So the better you are, the better your chances you have.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly.
So now, moving aside from visas and all that process, how was your process of adjusting to another country?
It's kind of difficult. For us, it was easy because we were thinking about it. But for example, for the kids, it was difficult because they didn't know, they didn't speak English at that time. Now they speak it much better than me. As you can see, my accent and my grammar is not good. But at the beginning, it was tough for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
how
now,
many?
yeah,
You have many kids, right?
4.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I have 4, and
Come
all of
on.
them are now speaking in English so
Yeah,
well,
obviously
like
they're native speakers.
exact native speaking. That was the term I was looking for.
Nice.
Um, yeah, but at the beginning, because they started the school the next day they arrived, so they came to
Oh,
the school and they didn't understand any word of what they were saying at that moment. So, and also for my wife, I always say that she is the hero, the heroine about this all of this process, because she was working in Mexico. She had a life in Mexico, and she came and changed everything because she doesn't have the work permit. She need to stay at home. Then all the families in Mexico, so it was even tough for her. For us, it's kind of a little bit easier because you go to the work and you start doing what you continue to do in what you was doing in Mexico.
yeah.
So it's kind of different. But I know some people that didn't make it. So we
Oh.
know a common people. Hopefully you have it here later, Sergio. So for them it was difficult. I came because Sergio invited me, and
Oh
I
yeah.
stay, and
You
Sergio get
stayed.
back. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah, it's
circumstances, I
tough. It's
guess,
tough. It's difficult.
and it's also if you adjust or not, or if you like it or not, or a lot of variables there, right?
Yeah. And also the language, man. I mean, I am able to talk a little bit, but when you go out and you go to the restaurants, their English is so hard to me.
Yeah,
So hard.
yeah, you get
All the
used to it.
slangs, all the specific terms is so difficult to me. There are some people that really know or really enjoy speaking in English. I wasn't. I didn't like English. I needed to. I had to study English very late
Hmm.
on my life, so I have a lot of issues about it because I wasn't able to
Yeah, it's
speak English early. So
totally understood. I mean, it's a common situation, I guess.
exactly.
But do you guys ever plan to come back, or it
No,
depends? No.
we already buy a house, so we are
Oh,
we are thinking of
nice,
stay here,
nice,
especially
nice.
because we know that our kids are gonna be staying here, so we
Yeah,
would like to stay close to them.
yeah, makes
Maybe
total sense.
on our retirement, we may go back to Mexico, but because of the living cost.
Yeah, you will be like those you will be like those Americans.
Exactly, that move to Mexico
Let's
because
move
of
to
the
Mexico.
exactly.
Nice, nice. It's pretty interesting insights on your journey so far to another country.
Exactly.
Now, if you would like, moving a little bit to a technical side, you said that you are an expert on .NET technology. You recently became an MVP
Correct.
in the Microsoft for
Yeah.
development in the development category. So I also have some experience in .NET. I actually have started doing .NET, and I still do a little bit. I have done for many years, but I wanted to discuss this once you started, because I think you started earlier than me, and then you continue do it. So you have a wider range of expertise in that technology. How have you seen the evolution of this specific stack with Microsoft .NET?
It's been interesting about it. It's been roller coaster about. we everybody knows that at the beginning Microsoft it was a closed company. Everything
Mm.
was for their own. How can I explain that? For
Yeah.
example, the language it was
Uh-huh.
the if we started with .NET framework, we know that it was able to run only on Windows
On
computers.
Windows, yeah.
Um, Also, the company has is been in a roller coaster at the beginning when Windows 3.11 started, and then with Windows 95, 88, it was a huge time for the company. But in some moment, everybody wanted to do the things in different ways. So it came the Linux, more to be more frequently being used. And then it comes the Macs and everything. Then it comes the Java in terms of in the development technology. So, and they continue doing the things the way that they were doing for a long time, like keeping their code for themselves and that kind of thing.
It comes the open source.
It comes the open source, and that changed everything. A lot of people moved or started to work with those kind of technologies on the open source and that kind of PHP, Java, a lot of things. So in some moment when Satya Nadella, exactly, the CEO, the new CEO of the company, everything changed from that moment. They are now providing their code as a source, open source for the net technologies. Also, a lot of things has changed about it. Now we are able to run our application in Linux, Macs, or Windows. It doesn't matter the platform. So it's been a roller coaster about it. I started with .NET, actually, even before with Visual Basic. I don't know if you were able to work with plain Visual Basic.
The famous BB6.
Exactly, BB6, exactly.
Yeah, that was our first one of our first IDEs that you saw Visual Studio version 6, and it was great. I mean, at that time, it was like you drag and drop.
And you click the point on why I stayed with Microsoft Technologies, because of the IDE.
The IDE, yeah.
Exactly. To me, it was great. I started to play a little bit with Java, and at that time it was Eclipse, and it was a tough using Eclipse at that point. So I stayed with Visual Studio, and that's why I continue working with Microsoft Technologies, because of the.
I do agree. I think Visual Studio is like one of the big things of Microsoft Technologies, right?
Visual Studio and Excel.
Oh, and Excel. Well,
to me, Excel is the greatest platform they could create.
Yeah, no, Excel is like a must in every people in this world. But talking about software development only, I say in terms of IDEs, I think Visual Studio I would say, is kind of the leading there. I mean, it has always had a really friendly IDEs and easy to use. All the versions of Visual Studio, and now with some years back with the hipster Visual Studio, which is Visual Studio Code.
That is also something that changed everything. But let's talk about later. So continue with your idea. Sorry.
No. Actually, that was it. I mean, in terms of IDE, I also still use the Visual Studio and in some projects and with .NET, obviously, and it's great. I mean, it's really friendly. I mean, you can do things. You can still do things manually if you want. You can use drag and drop. You can use any kind of accelerators or anything that Visual Studio provides to do things quicker.
Correct.
I guess. And I mean, I think we have seen the evolution, because you started with BB6. I did as well, but with .NET, I think you started with the first version, I guess. No,
I started with the first version with the second release, 1.1.
Okay, 1.1.
Exactly.
Actually, I remember I started with the 2.0.
It was too close to the moment that they released it when I started. So I could say that I also started with 2.0.
2.0 with the Visual Studio 2005, I guess.
8? I think so.
I think I started with 2005, and then 8,
maybe.
And then 10.
I don't remember exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the versions. But it was really cool. I mean, and it's really different than it is now, right?
And then we started with the web development, but because with Visual BB6, it was only for desktop. We
desktop.
we wasn't even thinking about internet at that time. So it came with the HTML, and then we started to work with Dreamweaver. I started with Dreamweaver. I don't know if you remember that tool, that IDE.
Was it Dreamweaver or
Dreamweaver,
which?
yeah, Dreamweaver,
I
yes,
didn't use it, but I know a lot of people who design web pages use
exactly. So it
Dreamweaver.
was
It was the
HTML,
famous
and
one.
then .NET comes to the scene with web forms in order to be on the web development.
I think now we're back.
Sorry for that. I lost my connection.
No worries. We were talking about
Web forms and how you
web forms,
can
exactly.
drag and drop your elements to the HTML in that time.
Correct. And then after that, I mean, web forms was there for a while, I guess. And then MVC came.
Exactly. MVC came to the scene and everything changed. To me, everything changed on that point. Because with web form, it was, for me, web forms, it was more like trying to do what we were doing on the desktop, but in the web.
Correct.
So in that time, it was difficult to accomplish what we were able to do it on the web. But with MVC, we realized that web is different than desktop. So we started to work to develop to the web.
Exactly.
So
they I think they try to make it simple to develop web with web forms.
Exactly.
And to have everything like implicit, the page life cycle and everything, you just do your stuff. But then, okay, we need to, the developers need to understand web, right?
Exactly.
MVC was kind of, okay, now things are kind of separated. You need to control more how you do your stuff.
Yep. Also the post back and that kind of things.
Exactly. And
which
then
we don't have on the desktop. So
yeah, and then a lot of Ajax came in with a
exactly. Then it came Ajax to the scene, try to again back to the what we were able to do it on the desktop, but thinking on the web. That was the difference between one approach to the other one. I mean, one approach it was, this is what I understand. One approach it was to try to reproduce what we have on the desktop, starting from the desktop. And the other one was thinking on the web and then try to reproduce what we have on the desktop, but thinking on the web.
Exactly.
That's, I don't know if I explain myself there.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, I don't know what happened to you. You were used to doing things in web forms, and then the movement to MVC and the subsequent
all the paradigms,
technologies, it was different.
Correct.
Not difficult, I would say, not difficult, but different. So if you were used to programming one way, then it was kind of hard to understand, to change that mindset maybe, and then
exactly
introduce to that new world. Then after MVC, it was, I think that time was where we were getting more, the things kind of getting split, right? I mean, backend came more isolated, then front end started to
exactly.
become
Yeah, when MVC started, it was only web.
Yeah,
it was only client side with some backend code on there. But after that, I mean, it was everything on postbacks. Yeah. But when Ajax come to the scene, we started to understand that there is a HTTP REST services. Mm-hmm. So we started to use that one because at that time we used SOAP services. Yeah. WCF, you remember those?
WCF, yeah, SOAP.
Exactly.
And now REST, and then came web APIs.
Exactly. So
and the APIs, basically the APIs have been there.
Exactly.
For a while, and they will, I think, still be there.
And for example, on these times, you still can find MVC front-end application, mm-hmm. but it will be so difficult to find a new one. Only old ones. Right now, we are thinking more on some JavaScript frameworks on the front end, but keeping the backend as an MVC APIs.
Correct. Yeah, correct. All that became the backend, right?
Exactly.
All that became MVC. Whatever you
Exactly.
did became the
So
backend with your controllers, blah 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 models. That's
exactly.
the backend, and then all
Eh,
this crazy JavaScript, Angular, React came, and then
exactly.
everything.
And now Microsoft is trying to find their way into the front end with the Blazor.
All right, that was the next topic I wanted to talk about. How do you see the .NET future? I'm really interested in this because some years back, uh, everyone, I mean, because you already explained how Microsoft was really close and then tied to their own way of doing stuff and not evolving as the other languages or the other competitors or whatever
Mhm.
was evolving, or that, like, in general the tech stack were evolving, they were not evolving. Then a huge movement and changes came, but a lot of people would think that, oh man, .NET is dead and the Microsoft technologies are dead. But they said that 6 years ago maybe,
Yeah.
or some years ago, and we still have it. And I still, with that those changes that were introduced with Visual Studio Code, with everything open source, with hybrid development, how do you see the .NET stack from now in the future?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I believe that if they if they had continued with the track that they had at that time, I think the future was going to be not too good. But now with that kind of things and opening their way to do it, the things, especially with the open source and being able to execute your application any platform, that is something that is helping to the I forgot the term, to the environment or
Yeah.
to the industry about the .NET technologies or Microsoft technologies. We'll still have the stigma
Yeah.
about being Microsoft.
Yeah.
A lot of people, the moment that you say it's Microsoft or Windows, it will say no, I don't want it. They are just thinking on money. They are doing the things so quickly, and they are not finishing their products correctly.
It's
Let's talk
it's
about
really,
Windows Millennium
yeah, I
and
know.
Windows 8.
It's really funny how, I mean, the new developers, or maybe not new, but the latest developers you told about Microsoft or .NET, they will say, "What? That's totally obscure, man. That's totally out of
Exactly.
sync right now." But do you see them on their Macs using Visual Studio Code, using GitHub?
But GitHub it was bad, but
Yeah, whatever. But it's
but yeah, but they are doing a great job with all the platform,
exactly.
all the
Or
buffs
they,
that they are putting
sometimes they're
there, and
using,
also
or sometimes they're using Xamarin or things like that.
yeah.
I mean, it's
So
still
I
there, I
think the
guess.
mindset it started to change. We are now being able to start talking back to, or we are back into the consumers, because this is a very interesting thing. Microsoft technologies are in a gray area, as you mentioned, for the consumer, for the developers, for the people that
For
are working by their own. But
exactly.
for the companies, the platform is so strong still. You can find
Okay.
a lot of works with .NET technologies because companies are still requiring those projects.
Correct. Because there's also reliability, right, on
Exactly,
those things,
exactly.
on Microsoft. What new technologies do you see on this?
Yeah, and for example, they are doing a good job of trying to accomplish what is coming to the future. So, for example, Blazor is a new technology that is runs on the client side, on
Mhm.
the Explorer,
Correct.
that is using a technology that is open, and a lot of companies are working. But Microsoft, I believe, is the one that is putting more attention to this technology, which is the WebAssembly.
WebAssembly. Correct.
WebAssembly.
I have a quick question. That only when you develop Blazor client applications? Because I understand there's also Blazor server
Yeah, exactly.
application, right?
They started with the technology with Blazor Server, which was kind of the evolution of the MVC or the
Mm-hmm.
APIs. It was the evolution of both MVC front end and web APIs. So they are sending all the bits from the server to the client.
Correct.
So they are still doing some processing on the server with the with the Razor Blade server. But at
Correct.
some point, they finished this part that is called the Blazor was
Uh-huh.
WebAssembly. I don't remember, but everything is now being executed on the client.
Correct.
So, and you need to consume, for example, a backend for sure, because you need to access data that is not in the client.
Correct.
I'm explaining myself.
Yeah. But
So
but 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 a lot of logic is done on the client side,
exactly,
as many other
is
frameworks.
to be honest, is trying to find their way into the competition from Angular, React, and that all kind of things. That you, if you know, those are executing all the business or everything on the client and just consuming data from the backend.
Yeah, totally
Did I?
agree. I'm actually doing just for not so much this time because I don't have much free time, but I was doing like a project in Blazor
Mm-hmm.
just for like personal project, and
For learning, yeah.
I found it really interesting and easy to use. To be honest, it was like, man,
And here's the
this
thing:
is
Blazor
simpler.
is not JavaScript. It
No,
doesn't
nothing.
execute any JavaScript. There is a I forgot the term. There is a way to communicate Java with the WebAssembly. Again, Blazor is WebAssembly, and there is a lot of
Correct.
effort from Google, from or Facebook, or other big companies trying to do the WebAssembly approach. It means that there is a machine that is executing your code in the client, in the browser.
Mm-hmm.
And you can write those, you can write code for that
You can
virtual machine or for that WebAssembly
in any
in
language.
.NET,
Excellent.
in Go, in some other languages.
Yeah, maybe they're using kind of a JavaScript API or something, or
No,
no,
everything is being executed by
everything.
the browser.
Okay, everything is.
That's the thing, yeah, exactly.
But only certain versions of browsers
You
support. Or
remember Flash?
yeah.
It's kind of that approach.
Oh,
Flash,
okay.
with Flash, we have JavaScript or what was the name? But it was the connection. But you can write code only for Java, and you don't need to access the JavaScript engine.
Okay.
Did I explain myself?
I think yep.
So, but Java, it was again a closed technology and with a lot of issues. So they tried to get back that idea and put it in the browsers and open it to everybody to be able to provide their engine for the different language.
Perfect.
For
Yeah.
the
It looks really interesting. All the new trends and how we see it. It's getting easier to use some new technologies and faster that you can do things. It is really interesting, especially on that Blazor part, which is a interesting trend on .NET that I have even used a little bit, not so much, but I've used it, and it's really cool.
actually, you want me to show you something about it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. I mean, it would be really cool if you can showcase
let's create a very
quick
simple WebAssembly application.
a quick demo,
Exactly.
so everyone can see how simple it is and how friendly
Exactly.
our favorite IDE, which is Visual Studio.
Oh, what is doing that? Let me
No worries, no worries.
share screen. No, it looks like okay. Let me use another screen, maybe.
No worries. Are you using you're using the latest version of Visual Studio, right?
Correct. I'm using Windows 11.
Oh, Windows 11 now
Yeah.
and Visual Studio 2022, or which one is it?
2022. Yeah. The new version, and actually the new version for every single technology on the development from Microsoft, it was released this November. Now we have Visual Studio 2022 and also .NET 6, which is going to be a long-term support framework. So if you
Nice.
are thinking on doing some migration or starting to think, .NET 6 is your starting point.
.NET 6 will be a good starting point for
Exactly.
anyone who wants to do a project on this technology. Nice.
Exactly. So, for example, this is the Visual Studio, and then we can come and... Sorry if I'm not seeing yours directly because I'm working on the site. So
no worries, you continue.
Yeah. So, for example, we have the usual console apps and then the MVC application, but in some point we have the Blazor Web Assembly application. This one, and actually, let me show you because we mentioned about it. We have the server app and the web assembly app. This one, the first approach they started, but not anymore. Anybody is using it anymore. They just keep it there because of backward compatibility, but this is the one that we are pointing to, which is the WebAssembly application.
Nice.
So
WebAssembly app, okay.
So if we started this one, I'm gonna create this one. Let me put it on my demo folders. I'm not gonna change the name. I'm gonna keep it there, the long one. Here is exactly the framework that we were talking. The last version that it was long-term support, it was the 3.1.
.NET Core 3.1.
Exactly. Oops. Then it comes to this in the .NET 5.0, which it was the one that it was current during the last year, but now since November we have started with the .NET 6.0, which again is going to be a long-term support. And back to the idea, Microsoft started an approach on the releases for the technology. 1 year is going to be a long-term support, and the next one is going to be a short-term support, just to give some improvement. And the next, every 2 years is going to be a long-term support.
Nice.
That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and for example, we can even prepare this application to be a progressive web application. You know what is this?
Yeah, the famous PWAs.
Exactly, the one that you can install.
Kind of like a hybrid, not exactly a hybrid, but looks like a could be.
Yeah, looks like a desktop application, but running in a browser.
Nice.
I'm not gonna use that one, but I just wanted to show. So, and for example, we can host this application in an ASP core host, but it's not absolutely necessary. It can only go to the client side. So I will create this one. It will take a couple of seconds to create it, and also to move it from my side monitor to the one that we are using. Okay, so what? Solution explorer. So if you can see, we have a client application without any Java file in it. So we have CSS, we have JSON, we have HTML, we have everything, but not a single JavaScript file on it. So for example, if I start this application, it will trigger my browser. Let me see.
So it's really cool for us who hate JavaScript.
Exactly, and for all that we know a little bit about .NET.
I don't hate JavaScript, to be clear.
I do. No, I don't hate it.
But it's not so simple because it's
exactly. So we have an application running everything on the client side. So for example, we can have a functionality like click me, and if you see is
increasing the count.
Increasing the count. I'm trying to why is not giving me? Okay. So every time, so if I navigate away from that page and then I go back, the counter is being restarted.
Nice.
So, and if you see, and let me show you on the development tool, on the network, these actions are not execute anything to the backend.
Nothing on the server.
Nothing on the server. Yes. So this looks like a JavaScript functionality, isn't it?
Correct. But everyone would say it's a JavaScript thing.
Exactly. As we saw, we don't have any JavaScript.
Now, where is that code?
That code is, I will show you. So let me just show you the last part. This is a fetch data. We are getting information now from the backend, from an API.
Correct.
And again, if we go away, we actually, okay. There is no refresh button, but we could implement that and refresh the data from the backend, or maybe a paging table, something like that, and we can do that things. So back to the code and trying to answer your question. Why I'm not able to get back to it. Okay, I'm gonna stop the application. So the way that it goes is that we have pages. In this case, we are using extension called Razor, and if we open that page, we will see that we have HTML code, correct? But in some point, we can have C# code. So what we were doing with JavaScript.
So there's.
Sorry, I lost you again.
Oh, sorry. There is the code that I was talking about.
Exactly. This is the code.
But it is.
This is the code that we used to have on JavaScript, but now with C#.
Nice.
And the good thing with the WebAssembly is that we can use .NET code, or there is also Google is working with WebAssembly, and in some point they are going to be able to execute here code or something like that. So it's not about the language, it's about the WebAssembly being executing this functionality.
Nice.
Did I explain myself?
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly. Everything is on WebAssembly. You can, different companies are taking an approach for their own languages to use WebAssembly.
Exactly. So, for example, for that fetch, for that API consume page that we have a table, literally
so basically an HTML table. Yeah.
Then it comes that we can execute API calls, and then that information we put it on the forecast variable, and then for each record that we have on the forecast, we are showing the data that it comes there.
Nice.
So it looks like very simple way to do it, and we are not using JavaScript anymore. Disclose here. Not everything that we are able to do it on Java, we can do it at this point on Blazor, but the future, it says that everything that we can do with Java, we will be able to do it with WebAssembly.
With JavaScript.
Everything that we are doing with JavaScript, we are going to be doing with WebAssembly.
Exactly.
Sorry for that.
That's the expectations, right?
Exactly.
That will be great.
So besides if you are a .NET developer or not, I will suggest you to start thinking about WebAssembly.
Nice.
Look for, if you are developing with some other technology, some other language, look for that approach in your language and you will find something about it.
Perfect. I mean, this was a really cool demo just to give us a heads up on WebAssembly and Blazor. I really
In
really
this case,
enjoy.
it's Blazor specifically because we are
Exactly.
using .NET, but yes.
Yeah, keeping with the .NET. This is really cool, and I agree with you. I think WebAssembly is something that we need to look at. Let's see if how it evolves. But I think at least it's something that we need to check there. It
Correct.
might be a really interesting trend into the future. All right.
Exactly. That's the idea that I want to transmit about it.
Perfect. I think this was just to wrap it up, Jorge. I think this was a really great conversation. I really enjoyed all the insights you shared about your experience from moving to another country to through the Microsoft.NET evolution and this quick demo. Uh, this was a really great episode, I think, and everyone who watches.
Thank you so much, and
Thank
I'm
you.
hoping somebody at least start thinking about it, about it .NET, about it WebAssembly, anything that I showed today, or at least open your mind that if you are in another technology, Microsoft technologies are not anymore as it used to be. We are trying, or they are trying to get back into the good path.
I think I agree with you. Those are the words of an MVP from Microsoft. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jorge, for your time and for this episode. It was a really honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and for sure, if you want to talk about something different in the future, just come with me.
All right. I will certainly do. All right. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks again, Jorge, and everyone who watches and stayed watching this till the end. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Bye-bye.